Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today's guest is a little unique, which will make for some great information. He is a facilitator at this month's RE Bar Camp One Coast event here in St. Augustine. He is a founder and CEO of SparkTank Media, a speaking, training, and coaching company focusing on the sales and marketing and technology of the real estate, mortgage, and title industries. He's a sales and marketing coming from a realtor's point of view. He has been a top producer, broker, trainer in the real estate space for over 26 years. He is considered a top 20 most powerful in social media in real estate and has been named Inman Top 100 Most Influential Leaders in Real Estate 2 years in a row. Let's welcome this amazingly diverse real estate professional, Jeff Lobb, to the show.
Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it. It almost doesn't sound like me at some point. I hate talking about me. So I'm as down to earth as it comes, but I guess you got to have some street cred somewhere.
Well, I tell you, going, because I do go through everyone's social media, and I come up with a little intro. Yeah, I could have took your whole bio and just read that because you do have a very good bio. Obviously, whether you create or have professionally done or a combination of both, which I think you probably recommend to a lot of real estate agents, have a nice bio on there because people are in the technology and the reading and, or going online. And I think LinkedIn is a underutilized tool in our industry.
Yeah. I mean, perception is everything. I hate to say it with the evolution of the social platforms. People truly believe, I mean, good or bad, or what is really, how things are really in life. People believe what they see. And it's 100% buy-in of credibility or not having credibility is a really quick decision. Not only real estate agents, but consumers at large are making, on the fly. So
Right. We're going to definitely dig in deep to that portion and how, but I'm going to kick off a little bit so everyone has a little bit of background on you, Jeff. Where are you from?
Sure. I live in New Jersey. I tell people jokingly, don't hold it against me, but
well, are you a Giants fan or Eagles fan?
Oh man, this is going to cause turmoil, but I grew up as a Giants fan all my life. Now, as I've gotten a little more mature in life and I have 6 kids, I've evolved to being a fan of the play. I loved Tom Brady wherever he went. I loved, like Joe Burrow. I like the players.
Okay.
So I cheer for the underdog times.
Well, I did notice on your social media, it looked like you had a football team picture there for your kids. Did I see that correctly?
I do. I coach. I've been coaching. I've been coaching youth football and lacrosse for the last probably 15 years. We're a coaching company as an industry, but we coach kids and most of them, my children coming up, but I've committed it's just about 15 years of time coaching kids football. And lacrosse is not very big in our markets.
Right. It's growing down here for sure. I mean, I grew up in Massachusetts. I grew up on Cape Cod, and obviously, the Ivy League was where you played lacrosse. Right now, that sport is growing like weeds down here, for sure. You go to Keene University, and shortly, and at that time, I mean, what kind of career were you thinking at that time, or did you always have the entrepreneurial mindset right from the get-go?
So you'll appreciate this. Not many people get to know this deep as far as time frames, but I got my real estate license when I was 1988. So I was in college, but just before I started really actively selling real estate, the person that was working me into the real estate career had made an introduction to me, knowing that I was pretty vocal and pretty good in sales as a young man. And they connected me with their son-in-law, which had a radio show lived in New Jersey. He had a radio show in St. Martin, and then brought the radio show to Aruba. And my first real, I guess, sales role was actively marketing the radio show for advertising on St. Martin and Aruba. And I did get my real estate license and I just started getting involved with it, but I was traveling on a every other week basis to the Caribbean, most of the time by myself, knocking on doors, selling radio advertising on St. Martin. And then we brought the show to Aruba, and my job was just to, generate ads, both print and radio. It was kind of cool. So I did it for a few years.
Interesting. As what, you're like 21, 22 at this time?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
And what was crazy is I was still in college.
Yeah.
And my parents were really not against it, but they're like, how are you going to do college and do this? So I condensed my college schedule, my junior, senior year, to like 1.5 days. And I'd fly out like on a Tuesday night and Wednesday, work till Sunday and fly back.
Nice. No remote learning in 1988, 89.
Yeah. Yeah, no remote. I did it on the plane, man. That's just what I did. On the plane ride back. It was probably a 4-hour ride back.
All right. So I'm studying your LinkedIn, and you have Wave to Wave. Said you did a startup. How did that all come about for you? And then that lasted looked like about 3 years before you actually go full into real estate. So tell that little story there. And a startup from you looked like you had like 3 people, and you grew it to about 40 before you left there.
Yeah. Yeah. So my my career of the sales in the Caribbean came to an end when Desert Storm hit. Travel was coming, no tourism, shut down. We parted ways just on a really good basis.
Oh.
And then I worked my real estate career. So I did work my real estate career for probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years, residential, and did some commercial. We were with the Gold Jacket brand. I was like a Doogie Howser wearing a gold jacket for Century 21 back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And after about 7, 10 years of the commercial business, when I got into some commercial, I was doing commercial retail in the state of New Jersey. And I was doing transactions on the smaller scale. Like we did Blockbuster video transactions, Subway franchises, maybe 8 to 10,000 square foot was my max commercial deal that I was doing on the regular. And quite frankly, I got put out of business by my own broker on that particular venture. My own broker, and we're not going to be very specific here, stole my clients.
Yeah.
And as I brought 2 or 3 brand new clients into the state of New Jersey to set them up in stores, they all automatically went silent on me for a while. And next thing I know, my broker took them and did transactions behind my back, which created all my funnel of revenue went to someone else. So at that point, it was a pivotal time to say, do I just jump back to real estate? I got recruited into the .com world because that is when exactly the .com world was just starting. The literal IPOs and these small. So I got recruited to a sales executive role for a few large Fortune 5s. We were selling high-end data services. I was helping them with the real estate space, finding space for their data centers. And we were building out towers and basically when DSL was an actual thing, right? AOL was like trying to do dial-up still, and then we started to sell DSL.
Mm-hmm. I still have an AOL email.
Yeah, you do? Oh my gosh. That's old school right there.
Yeah.
So we did that we did it for a while, and I'll tell you what, that industry was fast and furious, learned by fire, no education, you learn by doing. And people were getting recruited every 2 to 3 years for higher level positions and startups and stock, and boom, boom, it was happening. So I did bounce probably twice in 10 years. And then my last venture was that startup you talked about, Wave to Wave, where with me and 2 others, we raised money. It was a wireless startup. So some of our cool clients in their local market was Giant Stadium. We had like the Giants, the Meadowlands Arena. And what we were was a solution to all these DSL customers that if their service got cut, we were coming in from the rooftop on wireless. So we built out wireless networks across the country. And that was amazing for several years. We were just about to go IPO. And of course, that was the year everything busted. The .com bust happened everywhere. I mean, I don't care who you were, how much you had. There was people that were creating fraud at the high levels of the biggest companies, and it just crashed. Mm-hmm. And I crashed and burned with it. So then my decision was, I'm going back to what I know best, back to real estate. And that's what I did. And from there, it all trended to just start back as an agent, build a team. And then after I started getting my team getting built, and this is really before teams were even teams,
right?
Then I started getting into the franchise side of the business, buying franchises after that.
So, again, looking at your materials, looking at your bio, in the story there, you've had, put in a little more color to the story of where you're at this time to where you're at today. And I want to dig in here eventually of, what are you, preaching, what are you teaching, what are you coaching now? Because the technology is still changing every hour. It seems. Your background in the nuts and bolts, it kind of reminds me of like when we first learned computers, when I was in high school, I think I was a senior, and they were teaching you like, how to like create the program. Now today, the kids just operate the software, right? That's what they're, we were, I was in the cell business in the late 90s, going into 2000, cell phones. The last company I worked for was Alltel. I remember in the mid 90s, throwing out handsets as fast as possible. The digital phones were just coming in. Of course, Nextel was big at the time in that mid 90s and so forth as that technology, went to wayside. But it was a free for all. It was unfortunately, I didn't catch on, but I realized why those guys now today, and when you mentioned why they were resume hoppers, is because there was no one above them that really knew much more than they did in the business. You had to learn by fire and get out there and do it. So the more experience, and if you could sell your experience, you got promoted, right? Or got that next job. How does that background know, or does it even have any relationship to how you understand the social media aspect of, the technology that we're dealing with today? Because I really feel the average agent, when they go into one of these trainings and someone says, hey, we're going to train on how to be a better Instagrammer or whatever it may be, a lot of it is just goes right over their head. But you had the background of actually, how is a cell phone call actually made? Most people think they're connecting to a satellite, right? They don't realize it's going to a tower, then going to then might go to a satellite if you're calling across country and then back down. But they don't understand how that call is being made. They just have a phone in their hand. And I really feel that's the same way we have with social media today, and not only real estate agents, but the general public.
Yeah, and I would be remiss to give one more depth of that gave me a lot of that foundation that probably brings me to where I am, even today. And I got to give them a lot of credit for it. So just to go back to where I owned a bunch of franchises for a while with a brand, that brand brought me up into their executive team from after real estate and broker owner and all this other stuff for many years running brokerage. And don't get me wrong, running some very successful years and also really getting my hand and head chopped a few years too. I made a lot of mistakes in real estate. I'm very transparent about that. But that's how we learned, right? Yeah. So I became the vice president for technology for a fairly large franchise brand back in that time. And that time was where they had about 300 offices, US and Canada based. And I became more of the face of that in technology, but it wasn't about tech. I helped them navigate to do transactions and deals like when Loop was born. We did stuff with like Market Leader and did integrations with that. It was always that, but I was more of the face of how do you use this stuff? How do you use it to create sales? It's not about being techie. Tech was always it's great, but you got to learn how to apply it to build an audience or to make money. So I did have a great executive role running for probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years with this brand. To go, literally, we hit at one point 800 offices across the country. So it gave me a lot of travel time and face time on stages, learning the pulse of. I mean, I came from an agent mentality, but just understanding that tech was just being too technical. Yeah. Agents didn't know how to use it or apply it. Right. So my finesse and my expertise kind of became in. I don't care how much tech you have. We have to be able to use it in a sales capacity to understand it and simplify it. Because if it doesn't make us any money, I don't want to even talk about it. Right. So it helped me narrow down the focus to giving agents empowerment and confidence of how to use it. And more importantly, why to use it. The why is the most important, right? So,
well, I had a friend of mine. He still is in IT, and we were meeting with his alumni brother of mine, and we were meeting with some cadets, because we both went to the military college of South Carolina, the Citadel. Yeah. And he said in that dinner that we were having, me being in sales and him being in IT, the disconnect of what sales needs, if we could communicate it properly to the IT department, they could put the technology together to give us what we needed. It's that gap between a sales mind versus that technology mind. And I think you kind of bridge that gap because you were an agent and you also have background in technology. Would you agree?
Right. Yeah. Agent. I've run brokerages, so I know those pain points.
Mm-hmm.
And then having that executive role for many years to understand the franchising models, the corporate models of real estate, what are all the pain points in the business, but then to see and have that role to be able to bring tech into a company to realize that it's too complicated. And I was always, remember, it's always sales first. That was my background. So when you start to see tech and you have a tech background, most people were building tech for what they thought was to be right, not how we're going to use it. So a lot of times we try and help shape out some companies. Today I sit on maybe 3 or 4, probably 4 now, advisory boards for some real estate platform companies to try and help them mold their platform to be more usable and more adaptable to us.
For sure. I mean, 18 years I've been in mortgages. And I started off with the company that actually sells themselves as a technology company that does mortgages. I started off at Quicken Loans, now Rocket. Worked at Loan Depot, which they tried to duplicate. They're not as old as Rocket / Quicken is, but they tried to duplicate it. Poured a lot of money into technology. I've worked for some other institutions that try to have their own thing, but obviously they didn't have the support staff to keep that technology running efficiently and then make the changes as our market changes. I'll give you just an example. I was working with one company who was a joint venture for a builder. And of course, doing a builder's loan versus doing just a regular referral off the street from a real estate agent, we have all the discounts and the pricing's different because we were covering the closing cost and all that kind of thing. Well, this one company, we had to actually manually go in and do these calculations. So they were losing money all the time because as a loan officer, when you do the calculations, you're going to round down a little bit. So that means there's more money coming out of the pocket of the lender / builder joint venture to pay for those costs because, we want to give them the best rate, right? And then they divorced that company to go to a new company to be in the joint venture. That company comes in and they had of course, Encompass is a very popular origination program that a lot of lenders do use. And they went in there and had it set up for new, the builder deal or just the deal that came off the street. And obviously I guarantee it was a difference of, I don't know how many, if it was millions of dollars at the end of the year with the amount of homes and loans doing just by doing a technology fix that the other company couldn't do. So that 100% the disconnect between the creators and then, what's actually needed on the street. Right. Cause I think one of the biggest gaps in all of whether it's real estate agents, in loan officers, or really anyone in sales, is using those CRMs, and they can do so many things that they come in and teach you, and then you're like, where do I start? After spending days learning about it, you don't even know where to start with it.
Tons of overwhelm. People get overwhelmed. And I still see that to this day, the overwhelm. So I think the moral of the story is no matter what technology, or now today's world of social, it's all considered, a technology. Even the mobile device is I remember the times where, I tell the story all the time from the stages is, when BlackBerry was the thing, BlackBerry was the device. Here's how I bring this really as clear to real estate agents as possible is we all loved the BlackBerry. We said it was our best device. We never wanted to give it up. And here's a big problem that I can relate to real estate. What started to change was the consumer, right? The customer started to say, hey, this device is amazing. I love it. But what if I want to see a picture better? What if I want to see a video? Trying to do that on a BlackBerry was like a nightmare, right? It's like you were zooming in from NASA. It was pixelated and it was just horrible. And then all of a sudden comes this touch screen iPhone or Android, whatever it was.
Right.
And BlackBerry said, we're the best. We're not going to change. We do what we do best. And now came all this new evolving stuff and people created change. And then BlackBerry said, we're number one, we're not going to change. And that to me is the relevance of today's real estate world, an agent.
Yep.
I don't care if you're in this business 30 years. I got 36 under my belt. That doesn't mean we don't change, because if you don't change to what the consumer wants and how they want it, you're going to be the BlackBerry of today's age, which is non-existent. And that's really what we have to understand is you have to change with not only the times or the market, but the consumer. That's where they neglected to do as a top number one device in the country or the world. And here come these other competitors, Apple and iPhone, Apple and Androids, and crushed them.
Right.
So as a real estate professional today, I don't care if you never used to do it that way or you feel you're not techie, which I hear all the time. Who cares if you're not techie? You have to learn that if consumers are using it, you're going to have a choice. Your real estate agents are going to compete with you against you, or you're going to either step up and deliver that kind of value as well. And if you don't,
let's put the little rubber to the road. Give me, because I have it in my mind, but I don't know if our listeners may be totally picturing what you're talking about, because the clients aren't generally like looking for this fabulous technology when it, they expect to sign online. I mean, that's common now. If you're not doing that, oh my God. I did a deal a few years ago where unfortunately I was dealing with an agent who was a little older, and I was halfway between her client and her. So I was like, and her client was difficult to get documents to. So It was like, hey, fax it to me. I'm 20 miles north of you. She's another 10 more miles. I'll run it up there and have her physically sign it and then scan it back to you. But I mean, so I think that's an obvious, but what the graduation from when we started getting into this period of the smartphone, I guess, I don't know is it probably late 2000s, we start to evolve in it to today. Yeah. What would you say, every agent, you need to have some of these basic skills with these handheld devices?
Yeah, I mean, not to go back to some grassroots, but I mean, today's world, obviously everything needs to be digital signature. You need to be super video savvy on your mobile device, which some people think just pushing a video button and just scanning, a house. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a better level quality of that, and also communicating via video too. So many, even some of our coaching calls or group sessions that we do, I still see agents without video cameras on. I'm like, come on, are you serious? I don't care where you are. Turn on your damn camera. Like, I want to see you now.
Yeah.
But also there's so many cool, what they'll call tech products, but not really, in the marketplace that create differentiation, where if I was competing against you, it might give me the edge to that consumer that goes, wow, this person's really got their stuff together. Now, simple example. I do some advisory work for a company called highnote.io. And what I love about it is I only want to work with companies who I believe that have a unique differentiator. So here's a platform that solved a really great problem. If I said to a real estate agent, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. Why don't you send me over some marketing or some things you do in advance before I set up a time with you? Like, why don't you share with me what you do? Now, what does a typical agent do? They'll send an email, maybe, with a bunch of links, maybe to a website, maybe a link or a document attachment, maybe a PDF or a flyer. But as an email, what does that look like? It's a bunch of attachments and all sorts of.
Yeah.
And in addition, you're going to send me maybe print. So here comes Highnote that says that deliverable experience looks like crap, right? Mm-hmm. So what if you actually were able to send a customer one link, but that link you customized and has custom branded? I could put one document calling it my pre-listing presentation and have the video about my company, but it doesn't look like an attachment. It's a beautiful little thumbnail that has my video.
Right.
Here's a sample copy of my agreement. Here's a sample of my team. It could be any type of attachment, PDF, movie, JPEG, but it's in a pretty branded document that when they open it, gives them a beautiful visual branded experience. Everything they click on, you get the data to know they clicked on it, which gives you intel before you even get there. So if they clicked on my video tours 4 times and they clicked on everything else once, I know they liked the video tour. Like, I know they're into video because they watched it 4 times.
Yep.
So just simple technology that solves a problem, but makes me look like an amazing rock star. And my customer's like, this is awesome. Yet my competitor might be rolling in with, here's my CMA and an envelope and a brochure with a bunch of papers.
Right.
So there's little things we can do to start leveling up our game.
And I think you would agree with this. When you spend a little, maybe you spent a little bit of money to have it's set up, right?
Sure. A couple $100.
Personalize it or whatever.
Yep.
But in reality, if you're competing against, you might be competing against an agent who is knocked down, has more experience, sold more homes, whatever it is. But you come in with this just one little notch. The perception is reality, right?
That's right. And, if we're going to do beautiful, you call them virtual tours, 3D tours, Matterport tours, whatever tours we're going to do, that's awesome. But here's the thing. Are you actually showing that to your consumers in listing appointments when you're there? Like, are you sitting there showing them what a 3D dollhouse looks like? Or we're going to do this with yours, but showing them versus saying some bullet points saying, oh, we're going to do a tour. We're going to do pictures. We're going to do this. Saying it with bullet points does not have the same impact of having the ability to say, here's what we're going to do to your home and show them, because it gives a better perception and wow factor. Like, that was amazing.
I think you say something. Hold on. I'm going to find. I got your at the bottom of your. Why is it not coming up here? You say something about you speak 3 languages: English, real estate, and technology. I think it is. I forget what I'm trying to pull it up. That's really what you're just saying right now. You could be standing there in a room. And you're going, man, I'm going to give this 3D virtual tour and blah, 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 blah. And we don't know if their friend just told them, man, that last agent, he said he was going to do a 3D virtual tour. Don't do that, man. That looked terrible or whatever. But it's maybe not the program you're using. Maybe they didn't do it correctly. Maybe they have no idea what you're talking about when you say 3D tour of their house. They've never seen one before. It's speaking the language, and the language translation is using that iPad or whatever to actually show them an actual 3D tour.
Show them. I used to, and that's where the sales ability comes in a little bit with technology, is because 5 people can have a beautifully written piece of print paper that say virtual tour, this and that. A virtual tour could be like any one of 10 different things in today's technology. It could be some slideshow thing. It could be a real 3D tour. I don't care what anybody says. I want to show it to you. And when I show it to you, I make a different impression for the same exact thing you're talking about.
Yep.
Right. One of my favorite things, and just to show you how simple it could be, I remember like the evolution of single property websites, right? Which we all have in today's world for the most part, right? But to a consumer, what does that mean? It doesn't sound like anything. So when it came to a listing presentation, and I was really good at getting listings, I learned what I was really good at, and I learned what I was really terrible at, and we can talk about that next. But a single property website, like you could, so here's what I would say to a homeowner. Here's one of the other things we would do for your home is we would make sure we have a website specifically for your home. Here's why. A lot of consumers will go on sites publicly like Zillow and Realtor, and that's great. We're still going to have you there. Except what's going to happen is they're going to call or email in, and it's going to potentially take them to 20 or 30 other homes on that platform. When someone calls me and they want to see your home, I'm not going to send them to that platform. I'm going to send them specifically to your custom single website that only showcases your home, because that's my job, is to get your home sold. I'm never going to send them to a site that has multiple properties. So we're going to create one just for your house specifically. Does that make sense?
100%.
They're like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's making it sound like I'm doing some custom work for them. But now they think I'm looking out for their best interest. And you're right. If you send them to another site, they're going to see 20 other competing properties. They
just simply Google. What's the consumer typically do? The buyer typically do is they might saw the address and they're like, they Google it, and they're going Zillow and all those things are going to pop up. But if that specific website comes up with that address, that's 100%.
And what used to happen too, it still does in some cases. Some companies will say, if you want to see more properties in that property, go to the company website. You go to the company website, and now that consumer that called in on that house is now going to see a search for 20 other houses when they called on one. So I spin it to the customer from a sales capacity. It says, I am focused on making sure we see your home only, isolating you and helping you. That's all a single property website everyone has, but I can make it sound different to the consumer.
How important is it today, agents coming in, experienced agents, 2024, that they, and it obviously, you could talk across, and I'm going to dig into more specific questions about specific platforms, but how agents need to have a presence on social media. What words are you sharing out there when you're speaking and so forth? They have to have some sort of presence.
Yeah, to me, social media is the internet. It's today's marketing. So just like things evolved when you were marketing in homes magazines or when you were marketing in any of these other, print platforms, today it's simply all social. And because it's social and it's on, whether it be Facebook, IG, or TikTok, or Reels, and which, that'll be maybe another question, is which ones do you focus on? But
right.
The reality is, if you're not being seen there, someone else is, and drawing their attention. Social media is a battle for attention, just like advertising is. If I was putting up a billboard or a mobile vehicle, or a car that's wrapped, it was fighting for attention. And that's what we're doing with social, is creating opportunities to get attention for marketing and opportunities in the future for business. And remember, the other thing is perception. People will believe you are super busy because they see you super busy, versus seeing you not do anything because you don't post much on social. To me, you're just not busy, because I don't think you are compared to them.
There's a lot of, I've had different, I had one on a couple weeks ago. She claims she's getting a business from her Instagram. I
Sure.
think there's a small percentage that say they're getting business from it. Some are just doing it. Others are like, I've tried it, but I didn't get any business from it. Do you really know if you're, where that client is? Because, aren't a lot of these buyers, sometimes you got to touch them or hit them several different times. I know builders, a lot of times when that person walks in that model at a builder, they've already seen the model, half a dozen times online, and their virtual tours that they're doing and that sort of thing. How to measure truly, unless you're having a funnel, right, created from some social media where you say, oh, I know exactly where that came from. Like someone might have an 800 number on a certain ad. We know where that came from. But to really break down and say, is social media worth it? Did I get any deals? Is it really measurable? Or is it more of a, say, backup marketing program or system?
It's a good question. So my answer is going to be this. It's 100%. It's 100% needed to be done. Can you measure every ROI? No. And here's why we know that. Let me go back before social media and compare the same thing to where we are today. Because unless you have a funnel where they're clicking and putting an email or calling and saying, hey, I saw you on Instagram, which is not what they do, right? But it adds up to maybe a year from now, they've been seeing your stuff and getting your postcards and doing this. And as a compilation, they are calling you in for a listing appointment, but it's the compilation of all of that throughout the year or years that they've seen you do it. So one story that made this come to fruition for me was, so pre-social media, I was really big on having wrapped vehicles, wrapped cars. I wrapped a car every 3 years to keep it moving. And what was the ROI of my $500 a month car that was wrapped? Did someone say, I called you because I saw your car? Never in my lifetime. However, when I would show up to a listing appointment at some points, people would just, say to me, and I would just talk about like, hey, yeah, did we get introduced through a friend of yours, or how did we meet? And they would just be like, no, you know what? I've been seeing your cars. I've been seeing your billboards. I see you on TV. I've been seeing, like, it's just been all over the place. They've been seeing it. So that being said, it's a compilation of all that, to the point where even after I transitioned out of production many years ago, people would still say to me 10 years later, 10 years, I was shocked. Hey, did you have a son that went to like preschool at this school? And I'm like, yeah, he's now in his, teens. He's like, I remember you had that car. You'd pull up, and I remember my son would always want to see that convertible you had. Like, they remembered the brand. So when you show up, it's because they saw you at all those places that combines it into the value. So unfortunately, you're right, though. People said, I tried it and it didn't work. Stop it. Stop.
Well, it's a long-term
You
game.
have to
It's
do
not,
it.
you don't do a reel and expect a phone call at the same time. It just doesn't happen that way.
No, it's not. And that's unfortunately our world today is the Amazon effect of we want instant gratification. You know, how many times I get people with, you know, Zillow leads or whatever going, oh, my Zillow leads suck, or these leads suck, or realtor.com leads suck. Really? Okay. How long did you call them for? I called them a couple times. Okay. A couple times. Because it's not going to be till 8, 9, 10, or maybe even 11 months before they might buy.
Right.
So here's how I nicely put them back in their space a little bit. And I ask this to a live audience most of the time, and I love the answer. How many of you have a list of leads that you would call dead? Like, they're dead leads. I tried them. They ghosted me. They're never calling me back. And you've decided you're never calling them back. Like, they're dead. And I'll get a hand of, like, I got a bunch of those lists. So I got spreadsheets of them. Great. Right. I'm like, all right, cool. Give them to me. I'll take them. And I see silence. I'm like, what do you mean? Give them out. Who's willing to give me those lists of dead leads? They're like, no, screw that. I'm not giving it to you. Like, what do you mean you're not calling them?
Right.
They're not calling you, but you won't give them to me. Well, no. Well, maybe for a referral. Referral of what? You're not calling anybody. So I said, so there's value there.
Right.
I said, but here's what I can make a bet. And it's not because you're good or bad. I could take your list of dead leads, give it to one of my other clients that's going to persistently call them for the next 6, 12, 10 months, whatever. Change the script, different tonality, better questioning. And I'm going to bet you we convert some out of there. How about that? And then how about we pay your referral on those we convert? Would that be better? I'm like, oh, I would do that. So there's money there. So did the Zillow leads and realtor.com leads really suck? Or did you just stop?
Right. I want to change pace just a little bit, and we'll go back to social media because I want to make sure I get this part in. You've got the logo behind you. It's on your SparkTank media.com site. You have a tag on there, Coach 52. Tell us about that.
Yeah. That's our baby. So when we started doing coaching across, doing coaching of teams and brokers or top producing agents, we had to make a decision of how we wanted to scale the business. And what I chose to do is saying, while I love coaching top producers and one-on-ones, not everyone in the universe can afford a one-on-one coach, or not just yet. So we wanted to create a platform that was on demand, on their own time, with all of the strategies and these cool ideas and ways to market all in one platform that not only gave you those strategies, but also gave you some tools like we could track our goals and what does our production look like. And we could have a place where we do marketing all in one platform at a ridiculous value that the majority could afford, so they could level up their game to either get to one-on-one or get to become, a team leader or broker owner. So Coach 52 is a very scalable platform that allows agents, and actually we have mortgage clients as well as title, that partner with our agents in these platforms because it delivers such a great value. They share in these platforms. And we've got, I don't know, I forgot how many, several thousand in there now that are users that have access to it 24/7 on demand. And of course, I do a couple live stream sessions in there too, where Q&A and me delivering live. And it became a more scalable platform for the majority that may not be here yet, may not be up here yet.
So from a coaching, if I'm hearing it correctly, I'm going to repeat back to you just so any listeners are getting that clearly. It's obviously more of an economic thing versus, hiring a coach one-on-one. You're going to pay top dollar for that. You are, and you've created this program behind it to help track some of the things that you're coaching them in, which might be, give me some example, like how many phone calls or contacts they're making a day, that kind of thing.
Well, a lot of it's even just tracking, like how many people just in simple form create a business plan at the beginning of the year, set a goal, and then in June, they have no idea where they are. Mm-hmm. So just tracking just GCI, and we didn't want to get into too many complicated measurements of phone calls because I don't think we'd even get the truth out of it. But I wanted to track, where did your transactions come from? What's your GCI look like? Where are you versus your goal? Like, are you even ahead or behind? Do you even know? But more importantly, the strategy sessions that we'll call coaching sessions that we take from every event that we speak at, whether it's the RE Bar Camp that we're going to be at, right? Mm-hmm. Or I'm speaking at Inman this year, or Berkshire Hathaway I'm speaking. Like, the content from this, we condense it into video. So that, like, here's the strategy, and we drop it into the platform. And we're still going to get some in the industry that will sign up for something and never use it because you're never going to, they don't. You can't, yeah. I've got to a point in my career where I say, I can't force you to be better. You have to want to be better, right? We're giving you the tools. You got to learn to use them. So that's what we built Coach 52 for. And I think it's a ridiculous value. And then I think the big hotspots for us are mortgage brokers, team leaders. We're finding team leaders love it now because they can put their team in there and track their team's performance and still give them content and training so they don't have to do it themselves, which is pretty nice. And a lot of lunch and learn material built into this too.
So some of it's live, some of it's recorded that you're repurposing and so forth. And it keeps them, you got the accountability piece because they're putting the information in, and tracking that. Excellent. Right. And obviously at RE Bar Camp, hopefully someone's going to walk up to you if you're not already, able to. I don't know what Kim's doing, letting you hand out materials or whatever. Hopefully,
no, I try to just
people there doing a lot of great things.
Yeah, RE Bar is one of my favorite events of the year coming up.
Yeah, this one, this will be my third year going to this particular one here at One Coast, and that room will be packed. There will be 1,200 agents in there, and the tickets sell out like in less than an hour. I mean, as soon as she posted on December 1st, they're gone.
They do an amazing job. I work with.
Yeah, no doubt. What are you? You're going to be at RE Bar Camp here in a couple weeks. You mentioned Inman and so forth. Yeah. What is the word that you are sharing? From your technology, social media space right now that in your speeches?
The one word?
Well, no, so the word meaning, obviously technology is changing all the time. Like, hey man, you need to get on Instagram or whatever. And there's something going on constantly evolving in technology. Obviously AI is huge. Chatter, I had Marky Lemons on. She was the keynote last year at RE Bar Camp, and she's, pouring out a ton of stuff on AI constantly I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. What are you talking about? What's today's subject?
Today and this year has to be really focused on proactive sales activities. So, and it could be using technology and AI and using the AI to create my campaigns, but we have to focus on every day. And this is where people are either going to fail in the upcoming year or two or survive through and push through. Is every day in their calendar, they need to have at least an hour or two. I'm going to even say 2 hours, because if they're not busy, they've got nothing else going on. 2 hours of finding new people to connect with through technology or through the human networking of just showing up and being in the room, and finding 10 to 15 new people a day to talk to. Simple as that. And we do find a lot of tech does involve, like we've creating new campaigns using AI, like creative calls to action. But when we're sending out an email, like it can't be your standard email anymore. That's where we'll use some technology, spice it up, and get a better response. Because to me, there should be at least seven's my magic number, 7 different channels of lead sources that you bring in to keep you busy. Most only have 1 or 2. On my Sphere or this one or Zillow. When you get to 7 streams of lead sources or people sources, your business will change. And that's what you should be focusing on every day. How do I find more people, right? And 2 hours a day. Because if you're that busy, you're closing a lot of transactions. You still need to prospect, but maybe not 2 hours a day.
Right.
Most agents, if I said right now, and I love this to do live because it scares the bejesus out of people, is when I say to them, hey, grab your calendars right now, print the next 7 days for me, screenshot it and send it to me. They're scared to death when I ask them for it. I could tell you how you're going to do career-wise based on your calendar. You're going to have empty gaps. One of my favorite quotes is, you're losing money in the gaps of your calendar. You've got gaps in your calendar that, it's between a buyer showing and it's between something I got to do at 5 o'clock. Well, what are you doing for those 2 hours? Mm-hmm. You could easily be busy. Busy being, I got to send MLS stuff and I got to respond to emails. That's all good. You got to do that. Where's the proactive prospecting to find new business? It's usually never in there because that's uncomfortable work. And that's where we got to focus. And I'm telling you, most people will not have 5 to 7 days. Most people won't even have 2 days of active prospecting systems and solutions in their calendar.
Give us several examples so that everyone understands your 7 streams. What are some samples of streams that they are the most popular, obviously, that every agent should strive for?
It's a great question. I love that because it ties right into one of my talks I do is when you first analyze what is a stream. To me, a stream is a group of people or a resource that gives me some form of referral-based business. So a simple one we might say is my sphere of influence. We all say that, okay? But when I actually did this as a practicing agent, when I sat down, I actually started to look and go, I wasn't getting consistent referrals from my sphere. I wasn't sure why, but when I said, how much am I really getting from there? I wasn't getting a lot. But what is that active source? So let's say it is my sphere. I'm getting a referral or 2 every month or 2. Great. What other groups of people, because our business isn't real estate, it's people. What other groups of people can I network with that could send me a steady stream of referrals? So let's call it my BNI group that I used to run and belong to, BNI. Now, some people join BNI or any of these business groups, but don't get referrals. That's not a good stream. Either you're not working it or it's not working for you. Find another one.
Right.
So, but let's say my BNI gave me a referral or 2 a month. Now I got a referral or 2 a month from this group and that group. So when I analyzed this, I said, what if I could duplicate that 5 more times? What if I could find, I'm going to go to my elementary school where my kids go, or maybe they don't even go. And I'm going to ask them, hey, I'm a local real estate agent. I do a lot in this community. What can I do to get involved in the program that you guys are doing on a monthly basis that I can help and participate with? Now think about that. I found out that they have an education foundation, which means I can now volunteer for every month to get together with teachers and parents and a group of people that are not my sphere and not my BNI group that I can network with and do some really good things in the community, but they will get to like me and trust me, which will eventually turn into business. Great. Was another one. And I started to identify these. It could be church. It could be one of my favorite ones was when my kids are younger, I belong to a local archery club. I live in Sussex County, New Jersey. We shop archery. No one even knew I was in real estate for 2 months. Group of local people probably owned more farmland and business stuff that I knew. They just knew me as a dad with 2 kids and loved archery. Then one day I showed up wearing a branded shirt. I think at the time it was Remax. I was running from a broker open. The second they saw, like, oh my God, you're in real estate? I'm like, yeah, I've been in real estate for a long time. I had an appointment like every week. Hey, can we grab coffee? I got some questions for you, man. I got my grandmother's house I got to sell. And I almost couldn't turn away business from that group. But I was there because I injected myself into it with the right intentions. So I said, great, they're all different. Let me go find another and another. And then, yes, it kept me very busy. That's where my business came from. The groups of people that lived in the area I was selling from, but I had to proactively go find it and then work it and nurture relationships.
Yeah.
That didn't
I know one of the most popular ones here of agents, 150 some agents that I've top producers. It's a lot of some of these moms are at the ball games and you're sitting on a little league bench or the soccer, stands or whatever. And if you're not wearing that T-shirt, like you said, that Brandon say something about that, you're in real estate, you can make them silly, but people will, they see you there. The other moms are seeing you there every week. It's on the team, and you already have a like and trust because you have a common thing. Your kids are both on the same ball club.
Right.
The little things like that can make a big difference.
Makes all the difference in the world. And, I tell people all the time, like that sports community was another one of my streams, not because I was just a coach or had kids, but I'll tell you now, as a coach today of a young lacrosse group, there's never enough help. If you just said, I don't even have kids, I'm a real estate agent and you're listening to this and you don't even have kids. if you showed up to one of my board meetings or one of my coaching meetings and said, hey, I'm looking to volunteer to be a team parent or an assistant coach, or how can I help? You would be welcomed with open arms. I need more. Everyone needs help. You want to coordinate the schedule. You want to set up snacks and food for the kids. And guess what? You're going to be talking to all the parents, and you can wear your branded stuff with my team. Like, you're missing out because you're not doing it.
Yep.
So don't use the excuses. Well, I don't fit into that group, or I don't have a kid, or I don't go to a school. It's part of your community. That's what you're selling, your community. This involves no technology. This is like marketing and sales at its core that we're not doing enough of. And that's why when I look at calendars saying, you know, I don't care if it's taking someone to lunch from your BNI group once a week, someone different. So you're learning who they are and what their family's all about. We're not doing it. That's what we need to do.
You know, taking it to the technology thing, how important is you go out there, you enter that group, whatever it may be, or go on Facebook and look them up and friend them. And and you can learn a lot about people that are, frequent users of Facebook or some of the other social medias. I like hunting people down on Facebook. I mean, you see their kids, you know what they look like. They generally got a family picture or something there, what other activities they like doing. And now you can actually start interacting, which is, we're going to lead into this last part of our conversation, how to leverage it, but go in and friend everybody on Facebook. And so their stuff is popping in front of you.
100%. And just because people aren't commenting on your stuff, you need to know this. There's probably 3 to 4 times that people seeing your stuff, but not saying anything. And I know this even in my own hometown, from my own sphere that's around here, my own community. And I'm in a small town community in New Jersey, but I'll show up at my kid's basketball game tonight at 6 or 7 o'clock. And a few of the teachers that I know I run into, but I don't talk to that often, they're like, oh my God, I just saw you were at an event this week. How was Vegas? I saw you were in Vegas. Right. They're telling me where I was. They're telling me what I was doing. But they weren't commenting on my stuff. They weren't liking and hearting it, but they were watching it because now we're talking about it. So there's so much misinformation about the value of these platforms just because you're not getting this 9,000 views or whatever you're expecting.
Right.
People are watching.
Well, I think the interaction, social media is to be social, but you take it offline like you're talking about. They saw that you were in Vegas and did whatever. So now they see you. They're like, hey, I really want to talk to Jeff. What should I talk about? Oh, he was in Vegas. Great way to break the ice and start the conversations, just to say hi and communicate as people.
It's magical. We have to just commit to doing it.
Yep.
Right. Half the battle is doing. We got to start doing more.
I'm going to lead with this question, and then I'm going to go into, actually I had 2 questions, but actually I'm just going to go with this one. What is when you were at Vegas this week, if you look back, the last 6 months, the different events that you've been doing, what is the most frequently asked question after someone hears you're speaking or doing your training that you're getting in regards to social media?
They ask, it sounds silly, but most will ask is, what platform should I spend my time on? What platform should I use? And because I could see it gets overwhelming. Like, should I do a story, a reel, an Instagram post, a TikTok, a Facebook, like which one or all? Right. And I have to kind of rethink it. The question comes back to you is this. I always ask it answer with a question. The people that you want to sell homes for, like in your perfect world, where are they? Where are they spending their time? Like, if you tell me, well, it's this generation and they still spend time on Facebook and mainly Instagram and definitely some stories, that's your answer. You start there. You can always add reels and stuff. But if you go, hey, listen, a lot of people aren't using Facebook much anymore, so all Instagram and TikTok for sure, and definitely LinkedIn, there's your answer. You go where your audience goes and don't worry about anything else. And don't try and take on like 5 of these at one time.
Right.
Try and do 1 or 2 of them fairly well. Then take the third on, or figure out how to do reels really well and Instagram posts, then do stories because you could just convert them to stories. Mm-hmm. Don't try and overwhelm yourself because you'll never do it.
I think they underestimate too. I mean, and maybe I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm when I take the podcast and I'll, put it across, I'll put it on your Facebook page. It's already streaming live to YouTube, my YouTube channel. So it's already done automatically there. There'll be a more formal one, an intro and outro, when the podcast editing people do it, they'll cut me 4 reels initially. Yeah. And I mean, that same reel can be posted to Facebook as it is to Instagram, as it is to TikTok. I mean, it just takes a few minutes. Actually, I like TikTok. I didn't realize I got off TikTok for a while, and then I went back and realized, well, TikTok is like YouTube. You can load all the videos in and have one go every day for the next, you can do them 10 days out in TikTok. So,
right. And you could either do it, and you could either have someone like you're saying here. You could either have, now you're creating the content. Let's not miss, here's a great point to make. You're creating the content, but let's say you have a freelancer chopping it up for you and doing some of the technical stuff, which keeps your valuable time doing what you want to do better, but they're not doing the social for you. You're doing the social part. They're doing the technical part. Yeah. And you could, whether you want to DIY it yourself, but I don't want real estate agents to become, editing. Oh, what editing software should I use? Don't edit anything.
Yeah.
Don't edit. Either use, like we use Opus Pro to chop up our videos.
Yep. I started using that too. Yeah.
Or we have a freelancer that's expert at it that does it for us, but you do the social part. You do this. Let someone else handle that if that's not what you're good at.
Right.
And make it affordable. Today's world is very affordable to do that.
That's the latest one out there, listeners. Opus Pro. I mean, like I can take this entire, an hour-long conversation with Jeff, put in Opus Pro. It'll probably cut me easily 30 reels. Now, not all of them are perfect, but I guarantee you they're probably 40 to 50% of those are worthwhile to put out. And I mean, that's a lot of content of 30 to 60, less than a minute clips that, you can, it's more than a month long of content, because I wouldn't want Jeff on my content every day. I'd have to, spice it, put some other people in there in between to spice it up a little bit. But, I think I actually just joined. It was, it was a sale. 100, the pro version was, I think it was $10 a month. It was $9 a month.
Yeah, I've been paying for it for a while.
And I create a lot of video content, more so than the average person from the podcast and other things that I do. Let's break in. I want you to if you can make a comment on each one, because I imagine some of these frequently asked questions, or when you answer that question of where they should go. I'm going to give you the social media platform. You tell me just a couple, 2 or 3 things that you suggest that they should be doing if that's the platform they're using. We'll start off with the big one, Facebook.
Facebook should be creating Facebook lists for their clients to make sure that they're paying attention to all of their clients. So Facebook lists, and probably I would suggest finding someone that's pretty good at running ads for you, because I wouldn't want you spending time trying to learn how to run ads yourself anymore. It's become a science. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you there's some platforms. I was just talking to a group at KV Core, Property Boost and stuff like that. They have boosting. So the business page, find someone that help you run some strong ads. On the personal page, Facebook lists, that you can keep all your clients in a list, so that you can pay attention to what they're doing, so you don't miss out on what they're doing, because the news feed will not send that to you all the time.
So, all right. So when you put that person in and you click on you want to be a friend, just like you say they're a family member or whatever, you're putting them under a business.
I can create a list for family friend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I go through my lists so I can see, look, if one of my clients went to Aruba or something, or on vacation, or something bad happened and I should have went to the hospital to visit them, but it didn't happen in my stream because I didn't see it, I don't want to rely on the algorithm. So if I go to my lists and I click through my clients and I go, holy crap, he went in the hospital, let me send him a message, see if he needs anything. But if I didn't see it in my stream, I missed that because it doesn't show it to me.
Right.
Lists gives you almost like it's focusing. It's a simple filter that lets you focus on the people that matter to you. Simple.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you say ads, what is a ad that a real estate agent would be doing? Is this their listing, or what is there? What would?
No, I mean, what could be. I mean, if you have a listing today in today's world, you should be maximizing its exposure to generate more leads from that listing. Get exposure for buyers, but it also does a couple things. Gives you an opportunity to now get in front of your community audience to say, well, oh, there's Jeff again. Well, there's Jeff again. I see he's got another listing. Or, hey, send this to my friend. She's looking for a house. Click, boom. So yes, listings just sold shows that you're actively busy in the market. Here's a really simple tip, but stop saying, find out how much your home is worth. Today's world, people care about equity. So how much equity do you have in your home? Oh, equity. Drive them to now a lead capture page or like HomeBot that will capture them and put them into an equity, show them how much equity they have, right? So simple things, but make it valuable.
Do you target, for instance, if you've got maybe a neighborhood's got 3,000 or 4,000 homes in it, you're trying to get listings in there, advertising your service, or obviously say, hey, I got this listing over here. Do you know any friends or family? Do you want to target? Do you want to get that down in Facebook and have it target that neighborhood?
Target, but it's probably not as micro as that neighborhood for the most part. I still think a broader approach, because it depends on your business. If you're super city oriented and it's tight, but if you're sprawled, I still want to sprawl it apart because it still give me perception to people that I'm working in real estate and that I've got a lot going on, right? Because they're seeing me and seeing me. So I probably wouldn't as micro target, but that's always an option for sure.
Instagram,
more reels, definitely more video. Instagram stories, people love a lot. So the challenge with stories is they change the way. If you used to upload a 3-minute video, stories would chop it up into little pieces that you can keep clicking through. But they don't do that anymore. So what I think a simple strategy would be is create the reel and then share the reel to your stories. Now it's clicking from stories right to your reel, so you can see that full video. So if you have a video that's longer than 60 seconds, 60 seconds, reels, then share to stories. To me, stories is still very powerful. I like stories a lot because it allows you to also put a clickable link to take somebody where you want them to go. So if they see your story and you're talking about having an open house, you put the link in it to take me to that single property website or whatever it is of that house,
right.
Drive me to that, which is really great because too many people don't take advantage of stories by driving something somewhere else.
I've got to check that out myself then, because I really don't use Instagram stories personally, from the podcast materials and so forth. I'm going to have to check that.
Oh yeah. So if you do a picture of us like this, and then you could have it, hey, you want to see the podcast? There's a link, touch the link, drive it right to your podcast platform. Now it takes me to your podcast. Right.
Yeah. 100%.
100%. Way much more power to that.
All right. TikTok.
I love TikTok. People are so like, oh, it's a phase. It started off as a phase, but I'll tell you why I love TikTok. I mean, very similar to real estate in Instagram with Reels, but what started to get more attention to TikTok was there's a lot of people that'll consume a lot of TikTok, a lot of consumption, hours and hours of consumption. But if you're fairly smart about it, using the search filter, start searching for the things you want. It brings me a level of people in education that I want based on me filtering it. So for example, if I go in and search for creative real estate strategies or teach me about, AI or whatever it is, you'll start to get that feed because of what you're searching for. And when I start to see high level people in there, and one good example is back when I was telling you I was the executive for this large real estate company, every year's convention, one of the years we had this awesome doctor. He was like the world-renowned brain specialist of the brain. People that were on addiction and help impact with sales and how you improve your life. Dr. Amen is his name, Dr. Amen. He was on our stage as a keynote, fabulous guy. All of a sudden on TikTok, here's Dr. Amen popping up in my TikTok feed. I'm like, he's simply like a cool dude sitting on his desk, like very casual. Like, hey, here's a really great study we just did of people who smoked and stopped smoking and the impact of the brain. And it was like literally 45 seconds. I'm like, damn, that was pretty smart. Like I would have never known that. And why is Dr. Amen here on TikTok if it's a little fad? Next thing I know, he's got over a million subscribers. He's got an audience. And you might go, well, I'm in real estate. My audience is more local. Your audience is everywhere. But secondly, doesn't mean you don't have a local audience either, because you can share that content. And it's the same content you might be using on Instagram already. So you're not necessarily creating new. but I think it's a different audience platform with a little overlap. And I love just searching for the content that I want, similar as I would do in Instagram, but I seem to get a little bit more worldwide people I want to see on TikTok.
The interesting thing about TikTok, like I said, the search thing, and I want to talk about YouTube eventually, but people are like, I found out how to fix this on TikTok. I'm like, I didn't see TikTok in that way. And I'm wondering what the statistics are of actually people who do actually put in a search, or they just, scan a few. Obviously you start seeing a couple of things that you liked and you scan the next one, you stay on there. But is there a high percentage of people really using it as a search tool?
I don't think there's a high percentage. No, Nope. It's probably very low. But I will tell you, and there is another side to this too. Like there's a time where you might need to have, and I just say this in a fun way, like maybe you need that 15 minutes of just mind numbing. I need to go take a break. I need to just get away from my desk, my lap. And we will just scroll through the mind numbing stuff. And that's what happens. But unfortunately it becomes the addiction and you get caught into it. And next, it's 2 hours later and you're still sitting on the couch. Like what the hell happened? That happens. Yep. However, no, like I mean, I do get sucked in sometimes too, but it's only after hours. I don't do it. You're not going to see me on TikTok during the day. I will make my posts to TikTok. I'll create my content for TikTok, but now I'm not scrolling through. I will tonight when I need mindless time or I want to search for something. Keep in mind, you get a lot of creative marketing ideas. Find out what other people are doing.
Right.
And make it your own. Like, let's not recreate the wheel here either. If I find this awesome real estate agent in California and they're like doing something, I'm like, oh, that's an amazing tip. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Like you learned something new that you would never learn in 60 seconds because someone else is doing a better job at it. Mm-hmm. So it's going to come down to your own discipline,
right?
Which we're not very good at sometimes, to be able to just either use it as a tool, spend some mind-numbing time if you choose to, and just go off and learn. But also, very similar to YouTube, which you're going to get into, is you just search for stuff that you want to see, and then you'll find your groove. And if not, it'll take you down the tangent. Then it'll take you off the
rails. You have on your website, Twitter / now X. Do you do a lot there, or should agents really? It's a space I've never really. I have an account, but I really don't even look at it.
Yeah, no, I've fallen off the Twitter X bandwagon. Although I appreciate they've cleaned it up and they're not necessarily blocking people from talking and all this other stuff. But I think to me, I only look at it more of a news channel. It's more news. If something's happening worldwide or news related, I will go there to look and see what's up. Mm-hmm. But I don't find it being as social as a social platform as I would want to communicate with my clients. It's not where my vibe is or where my clients are. But
all right, we talked about a little bit earlier, and that is LinkedIn. I try to regularly, put something at least every other day. If not, I'd like to put some sort of material on there. But LinkedIn has got, I think, has picked up its game a little bit. There's some people, professionals, they don't bother with this Facebook, Instagram, but they are on LinkedIn. Especially if you want to call it, the more the executive level type of thing. They're not posting their family pictures on there, but they're interacting with other professionals in their industry or whatever in the LinkedIn area. How important is it for an agent, one, to have their LinkedIn set up, but be posting some stuff on there?
Well, I think from a local agent standpoint, if you're truly a local grassroots type of mentality, it's great. It comes up in your Google search. You got to have a street cred. So it's got to be done right, filled out, and you got to look credible. People will search through LinkedIn for sure. Mm-hmm. If you happen to have investor clients, relo clients, luxury clients with, high net worth, whatever it is, that even becomes more important to where you might even invest in like Sales Navigator, where you can start to see who's searching for you and how many people viewed your profile, which I love to see how many people viewed my profile and who it was. But you got to see where you fit. It's gotten a lot more professional and more activity and engagement. I only have one nightmare annoyance of it is I get spammed all the time in my inbox. So when people are trying to connect with me through LinkedIn, that one cool connection of someone trying to like, hey, I would love to meet up or talk is in between 90 people trying to sell me some software or SEO or some other crap.
True.
And I almost don't even find it sometimes.
Yeah.
So that to me is still a bit of a problem with the amount of spammy marketing to my inbox that I almost missed that one person that truly at Inman. I'm going out to Inman and someone connected with it. I do want to meet with them, but thank God I found it in the middle of all this other stuff.
Right.
So that's my only fault at it. But other than that, you're right. It's got a lot more traction, more eyeballs on it for sure. And remember, it's getting pulled into your Google search anyway. So you got to make sure it's got street credible stuff on there.
This is my belief in the last one here in YouTube. Yeah. I believe agents should be doing more in YouTube simply because of the search mechanism thing. In my visualization, and you correct me, you're on this stuff all day, 24/7. Here in Northeast Florida, I'm visualizing you got your friends there in New Jersey are going, hey, I want to move to Florida. I want to know what's going on in Ponte Vedra. I want to move to St. Augustine or Jacksonville, whatever it may be. They're putting those search tools in there. And I believe people are missing the boat because they don't have a video with, Ponte Vedra in it or, whatever saying, because like the emails we were talking about earlier, putting the video in the email professionally done where it's people are clicking on that more so than even reading. They'll see a video, they'll click on it where a lot of times it's too much reading. They'll just move on to the next thing. They're dead spend. What is your belief in YouTube?
I agree with you 100% on that. I think, am I 100% sold on people are going to YouTube and searching? No, they're searching Google, pulling in YouTube videos for the most part. Yep. Younger generation and kids, like my kids will go to YouTube and just search for stuff on YouTube. That's basically their Google. For the consumers at large, they'll go to Google, search, and pull in YouTube. But you need to be like the social manager of like the Love boat in real estate. Like you've got to be the one that's like, if I want to move to the Tampa area. I want to move to, and I'm searching. Yeah, I could see an area of a video of the Tampa area, but I'd rather you show it to me. You become that person that shows me why I should be moving to Tampa and the things I never even knew about Tampa or wherever it is. That gives you more marketing traction, more Google juice, if you want to call it that, makes you the expert. And then in general, gives you other content. Because remember, the content you create for that YouTube clip, call it a 4-minute community tour, could easily, what we just talked about, be put into that Opus Pro. And now you got some little snippets you could be dropping in of you on TikTok and Reels that drive me to that video. So the content is still usable and repurposable regardless. So you get a lot more out of it.
Well, I always think the longevity of you go on YouTube right now and search anything, and depending on, how popular that thing that you're searching for, there might be videos 3 years old that might be at the top of the feed.
At least,
sitting, you're sitting here. It's so someone's searching like a specific community, like here in Northeast Florida, St. Augustine, Beach Walk is the thing. It's got the lagoon, right? That's probably the most popular. Or Nocatee. There's two different large subdivisions that have exotic amenities to them. They're searched all the time. So some of those videos may be years old. They're still going to keep popping up, and people are still reading them. Versus, and I want your opinion, versus the Instagram, the TikTok, Facebook, they're just fade away, don't they?
Yeah, yes, and no, for the most part, yes. I mean, I would say YouTube has a way bigger, longer lifespan because of the depth of search, right? So the 100%. And you're right, some of these like stories will disappear. Reels are there, but it's not going to populate in Google search per se. So it's not found on the web where most people start in just searching for a keyword or a name. So yes, a lot longer shelf life. So, you can even look at your strategy going, maybe I'll create a video for YouTube that's 4 minutes long and then make my shorter snippets of that, some of my content in the smaller clips of social platforms.
Right.
You can re-engineer that, but don't also forget to just mix in, of course, the social of your day and what you're doing and where you're doing it. And you might go, who cares about that? People do care. That's what they're looking for. So get out there and be more visible, period.
I want to take all those platforms, summarize the terminology SEO. I know I was coached or explained on Instagram, don't just post it. You have to say something about the video that you've got there. Using, what type of words that real estate agents should be using in their descriptions of their videos, short or long, or is that helping in their traction? Is that helping in their views? If they're make sure they're mentioning real estate in Florida or, whatever it may be, are those important?
Yeah. The real estate titles, I mean, the YouTube title is always most important, but even when you're putting in the tags or other keywords, some people put in the generic ones that are too generic. I think they put in the word like real estate. Okay. Well, 9 million things will come up for real estate.
Right.
You got to get even way more specific. And also, not only that, like, let's say, for example, you're in a community where, let's say you're St. Augustine, so maybe it's a waterfront community, or maybe it's boating. What's that person going to search for in that area? So it might be vacation destinations. Maybe it's going to be Florida marinas and boats. Like, what am I looking to, like, what are those other keyword terms of that client that might want to come to that area or that would search that area? So only get outside the generic stuff is what I'm saying. Real estate, homes, waterfront real estate, like there's millions of that. So throw them in there if you want as tags or hashtags, but get really specific to what that consumer would search for and the terms they would use where you would want them to see your video.
I've taken you over an hour. So I want to finish. Because you and I could talk for hours, and I can't wait. What I've been asking everyone this final question. If maybe you haven't even thought about it yet, or maybe our conversation. What topic or what do you want to get across at the RE Bar Camp? Because it's, you only have so much time. But as a facilitator, what is it the most important thing that you're going to try to share with everybody, or topic that you're going to share with everybody to make the biggest difference for them?
I think everything that comes out of that, and the number one thing, just as a tip for RE Bar Camp, just to preface into this, is you need to show up there willing to talk and share ideas. It's not a one-way conversation. If you haven't been to an RE Bar Camp, the goal is of a facilitator is not for even me to teach anything. It's really to get you guys to talk about what you're doing really well. We as facilitators will also share some of that stuff, and that's a great idea. And who else is doing this? I think the goal is we want to extract as much. I want you to walk out of there going, I had a whole bunch of questions on my mind. Mm-hmm. I was able to ask them or share my strategies. And I listened to 10 other people in the room and I got some amazing ideas. I want you to walk out of there more confident, more prepared for the market, ready to go out with real strategies and things that you could execute and go do. But it's only going to happen if you go out there and be willing to participate and share and talk and ask, not sit there quiet in the back of the room trying to take notes.
Right.
So be ready to go. That's what makes that a special event.
Yeah. That's great. That's great advice. Having been at the other two, it is, although, you don't want to be the person that overwhelms the opposed expert. Cause I don't know, in my opinion, you could correct me. You've been to more RE Bar Camps than I have, but why are you sitting in a room if you feel you're an expert, and then bring up and tell everybody, brag about what you're doing? Why are you not in the room where maybe you're doing okay, but you think you could be better and you need to hear some other ideas to move your game? Because sometimes, don't be that person in the room who just wants to, be the facilitator. And that's my opinion. I don't know if I'm right or wrong there.
Well, the hardest part for facilitators in retrospect, it's really hard. And you'll ask any of them, is we are born to teach and coach. Like, we're born to do this. And here's where we have to learn to stop doing that. Although that's what people want from us sometimes. They want us talking, which we will. But the goal of an RE Bar Camp is to get the conversation about who's doing this really well. Okay, tell us what you're doing. Oh my God, that's an awesome idea. Anybody else doing that? We're supposed to facilitate the ideas in the room and sprinkle our stuff. And unfortunately, some of us get caught with the bug, and Kim is really good at this cracking down, is if any facilitator hijacks a room, meaning I am now teaching everybody because I'm the expert,
right?
You don't get invited back. It's as simple as that. You don't get invited back. So,
I mean, because the subject of social media to me is so broad, and like we just went down through, I mean, we could talk for hours about each and every one of those social media platforms, or nail it down. And whatever they're doing in the background, changing the algorithms, whatever it may be, your network of people is different than the other person's network of people. How many people are viewing it, there's no finite answer. I think a lot of people want that finite answer. Oh yeah, on Instagram, if you do 1, 2, and 3, boom, you'll have thousands of views, and it just actually doesn't really happen that way.
No. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of being unique, a lot of outside the box type of content, and just being more authentic. Sometimes the more natural you are, the more views you'll get. Right. So let's try and stop scripting everything, because life isn't a script. Yep. It's not. Life is life. Share it and be professional about it, but at the same time be very natural about it. You'll get more engagement that way than some scripted stuff. You're talking about some market update, right? Just be yourself.
Just do it. Just do it.
Do it.
Jeff, I appreciate you coming on today. I look forward to meeting you on the 26th. The question I posed you off, pre-show, if you could think about that, I'd love to have a further discussion with you. Maybe, I don't know what your schedule is coming into town. You may want to come in and thaw out a little bit from New Jersey and hang around for the weekend. But I really do appreciate you coming on today. It was a great show, a lot of information here, and I'm sure everyone appreciates and look forward to meeting you on the 26th.
Yeah, I look forward to it too. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you